Everybody, what is going on? Josh Cherry here. We are on episode number 4 of 417 Sound, and I've ventured out of my home to the great abyss,
the slums of
the
Springfield,
the wild west of Springfield, and I'm on location with the one and only Jake Simpson.
On location.
How are you, brother? Great to see you. Thank you for doing this.
Thanks for coming over.
Absolutely. I'm just sitting here just like admiring the 5,000 keyboards and pianos.
Bunch of old junk's what it is.
It's fantastic. I love it.
It's like my security blankets all around me, literally and figuratively.
You've accumulated more stuff
than
I could ever imagine.
I started collecting keyboards when I was about 13.
Wow.
And I'm much older than that now.
I found out how old you are. I'm not going to say how old you are.
Wow. No,
but at the show we did together, I was just like, there's no way he's that old. So whatever your routine you're doing, like up here is
olive oil. Olive oil is all I put on my face, and I scrub the crap out of it every single day. Yeah,
that's great. Well, man, so for those of you who don't know Jake is currently the keyboardist for Members Only, which Chelsea and I, if you watched the last episode with Chelsea James, Chelsea and I spent a lot of time bragging about the talent of this guy, and
clearly you weren't listening.
I forgot to take the cotton out of my ears, but Members Only is, Chelsea and I both agreed that we think it's one of the, if not the biggest band locally that we've got, and for that to be
we have a lot of fun.
80s cover band is even more impressive. You guys are just...
I keep thinking, the 80s thing is going to die, but for some reason it just keeps going and go. It's like an Energizer Bunny, which makes sense.
Which is great.
Also from the 80s.
That's right. So tell me a little bit. You are not... you're from around here.
Yeah.
But not from here specifically. Yep. So tell me a little bit about your upbringing and kind of were you in music from... Obviously, you said you collected keyboards from 13, so
bored
tell
as
me
a
little
child.
bit about
So I grew up in a little town called Crocker, it's about 100 miles from here, by Fort Leonard Wood.
Fort Leonard.
Yep. And what brought me to Springfield originally, way back when I was 18, in the 1860s, was I went to college at what we used to call SMS, but what they now call MSU.
You're gonna date yourself.
What? There are times in my life that's the only person that would have dated me, so I guess that's probably okay.
I thought we were keeping your age secret.
No, there's no secret.
He's 25. Leave it at that.
25 plus almost 25.
Get out of here.
Yeah, so I went to school here in town and had a little band called Four Jacks for many years, and worked at a little place called Piano Craft. That was my first job out of college, actually. I was a piano apprentice, so I learned how to tune and voice pianos and, work on them and stuff.
Cool.
And I moved to New York, shortly after that to pursue a career in starvation, and that was wonderful for about 2 years. Boy, I don't know, I bartended there for a while, and they have these places in New York. Well, I guess they're everywhere now, but back then these places weren't everywhere, but they were like a piano bar kind of a thing where you go in and you sling some drinks and you sing a couple songs with someone playing piano, and hopefully the kind of songs that they want to hear. I didn't. So, when they would request songs, I would be like, that's musical theater, right? That's the one with... Yeah, I don't know that one, but I'll sing the Stevie Wonder song for you. Like, who's Stevie Wonder? The pain in hell, I'm coming, Elizabeth. I'll be right there, honey. And so I did that for a couple years, and sadly, that's when 9/11 happened.
Yeah.
And so it was no fun after that. The world changed overnight, and it was all of a sudden it was like, oh crap, I'm a sitting duck on this island that can't get off of.
Right.
So shortly after that, I auditioned for this show on CBS called Star Search there in New York, and I somehow made it on. So they flew me out to LA. I did that for a little while, and when I got back to New York, I was like, I am moving to California.
Get me out
so
of here.
I packed up my track and I moved to Beverly.
Okay.
No, I didn't. Yeah, I mean, I packed my car
Yeah.
I had just bought a used BMW convertible, little M3, and it was amazing. I actually bought it in Springfield on my way back.
There you go.
And so I packed that thing to the gills. Like, the top was bulging because I had so much junk shoved inside of it. And like a month before that, I auditioned for Rent, the Broadway show.
Yeah.
And on my way across country, I got into New Jersey, and I got a call from my agent on my flip phone. And he said, well, you're not going to believe this, and I know you're on the way to California. Yay. But Rent wants you to play Roger on Broadway now. And I went, yeah, tell him I said they should have told me a couple months ago, because I'm leaving, because I'm getting the heck out of this place. Bye-bye, see you later. And so that was kind of fun to be able to, felt good to be able to say, no thanks, Broadway. I'm going to go to L.A. now. Yeah, so I spent 14 years in L.A. and
that was actually one of the things I was going to ask you. Did you move to New York for, like, was musical theater your ambition?
No. In fact, I hate it.
Okay.
I shouldn't say I hate it. If it's good, I love it, but it's never good.
Yeah.
I just never got it, how people would burst into song.
Yeah.
After
Hamilton?
talking.
Not a fan of Hamilton?
I hate rapping.
Okay.
Now, that's showing my attitude. I can't... Get off my lawn! I've never liked rap, unless it's like 1980 rap, where there's real music going on underneath it, and it's a little bit of a rap, but then it's a song.
Yeah.
I'm so awful. So yeah, no, definitely not Hamilton. Okay. I've seen little spots of it, and I was like, "Yep, this show's not for me." I like it if it's from the 50s or the 60s, and it's Hollywood musical theater stuff, like Technicolor, big widescreen, and that stuff's cool to me. But my suspension of disbelief doesn't exist, so I'm constantly pointing out things in the audience, going, "Well, that wouldn't happen.
Yeah,
you can't do that." No one would sing that.
Yeah, why is he singing in the rain? Can you explain that to me?
No one sings in the rain.
He's twirling on a light post. What's happening?
What's wrong with these people?
It's really, I'm sure there's going to be people that are listening to this that are baffled that you turned down Broadway.
Oh, well, I wouldn't have turned it down if I hadn't just been on a big TV show and won some money so that I could support myself.
Okay,
for
so
the
this
next
was
10
after
years.
Star Search.
Yeah, I know. I fast forwarded
that's
there.
All right.
Yeah.
That's all right. I mean, you left out a big portion of the Star Search story, which is that you freaking won. I mean, that's kind of a key cog here in the story.
Yeah, I've still got the beta tapes to prove that, but they're in storage.
So what year was that? What year was it?
That was back in '03. The first season was in 2003, and the second season I went back and did another thing with them in 2004. So, total of 2 years. I was on 12 weeks.
And when did American Idol debut? You know, off the top of your head?
Yeah, about a year and a half or 2 years before that, which is why CBS saw that cash cow and went, "Hey, let's do that same thing." Yeah. But I'll tell you one thing: the people that ran our show, the producers, everyone was really nice. It really was about finding people who could do something that took talent instead of ridiculing people who have no talent. Right. Which I always thought that was horrific, the way that the other shows did that. Yeah. Our show really did do what they were supposed to do. Okay. And that was refreshing.
So who were there judges?
Yeah. Naomi Judd.
Naomi Judd
was one of them, and she and I were pretty good buddies after the show, and it was great. She kind of took me under her wing, and that sounds too personal, though, because we really didn't, hang out. Well, but there were phone calls every once in a while, and my dad, who I just lost in December, used to call her husband Larry, and they would talk about, professional stuff. And how do I do this for Jake? And how do I help Jake do this? And my dad would ask, and they were a wealth of knowledge. They were great. She coined the term mailbox money, which is money that you get paid for residuals for doing things. And I'm still waiting for that. I think I made $7 last year.
That's like
in residuals.
Every once in a while, I'll see something on Twitter or something that says, "Did you buy Red Bull in the past 2 years?" Yeah. Well, it's a class action lawsuit, and I'll apply for it, and then 2 years later, I get a random check for $14, and I'm like, sweet,
which is probably $13.95 more than most people would have made.
Yeah. So every time I do one of those, I'm like, what is this from? Oh, yeah. I was in a class action against Bass Pro Shops. Yeah, this is a great.
Oh, not again.
So that's cool. So yeah, you won the damn thing.
Yeah.
Which was obviously a huge deal.
It was amazing. Yeah, it was. I think it's probably the one thing that I'll ever do in my life that was like professionally like a really cool thing to get through. Although it didn't feel professional because everyone's amateurs. Like I was an amateur too, and you're sort of thrust into this world that you kind of know nothing about if you're a dumb redneck like me that grew up in the Midwest and didn't grow up in the business. So I wasn't really prepared for that.
Right.
And I had no clue what to do. I was running around saying, what do I do now? Do I need to hire somebody else?
Right.
Luckily I got a great manager, and he hooked me up with an agent, and we got a publicist and did all that stuff, and I still keep in contact with him today. So
did anybody else off of that show go on to have successful careers that you know of? Do you keep in contact with any of them?
I don't. I did for a while. You know how they kind of want you to be in competition with one another.
Right.
I hate sports, so I never understood what competition is, because everything in my world has always been, let's work together and make this amazing thing together. And so the competition thing never worked. And so when we would do our interviews, they would be like, well, what if they did this and you didn't like it? And I was like, nope. I think she's a great singer. I think she's fantastic. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not saying bad things about other people, at least not on camera.
Yeah, right.
There will be no record of it.
So the finale, was it just you and one other person that it was narrowed down to?
Well,
or was it kind of a small group?
The first year was the kind of format where you go on and you go on and you perform against a couple of people, and then if you beat everybody, then you go to the semifinal thing. Then you compete against someone else who was on for another couple of weeks, and they got in that same position as a semifinalist. 2 or 3 of you go against each other, and whoever wins that is called the grand champion. So the first year, that's the way it was. And the second year, they brought everyone who was a grand champion in their couple of weeks. We all came back and sort of stood in a line, and the new people would come and challenge us. And just most of the time they picked me because I'm a dope. I look dumb, and my belly's hanging out on stage, and this sort of
You
hair
didn't have
thing
that back
going
then,
on.
though.
No, it was actually out, big, messy, and I think I had it bleached too.
Yeah.
I think it was
You had a
pretty
little
yellow.
Timberlake thing going on.
Yeah. And Timberlake had already done that like 10 years before, so I wasn't even in style 20 years ago. And so they would, whoever would win that would stay, right? So if I won, I would stay on the panel for the next week. And then someone else new would come along. Well, it just so happened that the 3 of us who won the original season managed to beat every one of the new people the second season.
Next victim.
Yeah, so I think it's like it didn't really work out. Like the format didn't do much to change because we were all still there.
Right.
Either that or we were just all really, really good. No, I wasn't. So then at the end of that, we 3 competed against each other again, and I had to beat 2 really amazing artists and singers. And I didn't win by much.
Yeah.
I think my mom still has the scorecards hanging on the wall in my bedroom back home.
So was it a fan vote, or was it a judge that decided the winner?
That season, it was a fan vote. Okay. The first season, it was a combination of fan vote and judges. But
Gotcha.
The second season, the judges just sort of offered critique and,
So did you win money the second show as
Yeah,
well?
I did. I did pretty good for a couple of years.
There you go.
Woo! Yee! And then all of it went to either taxes or my press agent.
Yeah.
and my rent, it was
and
great.
500 keyboards. that served us.
Okay, I only bought that one back then. I bought that in 2003, and
cool.
This one's worth like $6,000 now. It's the jump keyboard, the Van Halen jump sound. Well, that's that same model of keyboard. Yep. Yeah.
That's cool. Okay.
I paid $900 for it in 2003, and that's worth
kidding.
like $6,000. So
Wow.
I did okay on a couple of these. That one over there, Memory Moog, it was one of the few polyphonic keyboards that Moog made before they kind of died. Moog, as the learned say, Moog. But it's M-O-O-G, and I'm a dumb redneck. It says Moog.
It's Moog.
Moog. Bob Moog would be very upset with me for saying that.
Do you play any other instruments?
I used to play a little,
man?
well, mostly keyboard stuff. So
Yep.
if you notice, there's a bunch of different kinds of keyboards here. There's an old Hammond organ over there and a couple of Rhodes. And so every one of these instruments has a different style of playing. So it's kind of like playing different instruments, but they all have keys.
Right.
I'm a big synth nerd.
Yeah.
Analog synth stuff. And
You're hearing a lot of synth in a members only show.
yes, you do.
Lots of
And that's
synth.
all my fault.
That's all you.
I got layers and layers of crap that's all hooked up, In fact,
I have the solution. When I walked in, Jake was working on a transition between
two songs.
Two songs, which were
We like to do medleys of 2 or 3 songs
Right.
because it keeps the night sort of moving, and you get about 15 minutes of, one cue that says we're going to play these 3 songs straight. So if you can get 3 dances, if you get the crowd kind of built up and sort of do the DJ thing.
right. Eye roll.
And so I'm working on a transition between Barracuda.
Yeah.
Barracuda, which is 138 BPM, so it's like this, into Edge of 17. So it's like, just like the wind sings. Just trying to figure out how to do that in a musical, clean.
Well, I think I have the answer.
Just stop and start over.
No, just synth.
Well,
More synth.
that's a great idea. I like that you said that.
Just all of the synth.
We can work together,
We
my
can
friend.
fit into one medley. Oh man, that's great. So which one of these is your? Do you have a favorite of all the keys that you've got?
Well, I
here?
used to work for Rhodes.
Okay.
For years there was this piano that came out in the late 60s called Fender Rhodes, right? So Fender, the guitar company, owned this poor man's name, who was Rhodes, Harold Rhodes. And they had these mechanical but electric pianos that had little vibrating things inside that had pickups on the ends. And so you got all your notes like that. They were very difficult to tune and set up and make them sound like they're supposed to. So when I lived in LA, I was super bored, and somebody started building these things again. And I went, oh my gosh, this is a real Rhodes. I've had 12 Rhodes in my life, and they were all shot.
Right.
Junk. That one over there, the orange one, is made out of 4 different keyboards. And I built that one right before I started working for the company.
Okay.
And so I went to work for him, and that was in Long Beach. I'd make that every day. I'd make a drive all the way from LA to Long Beach, and built
Wow.
these cool. So I would say that's my favorite, just because I have the most history with it. And hear it? It's not plugged in,
Yep.
but you can still hear it because it has vibrating things inside like a piano.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So when did you? So just rewinding a little bit. For you to go into college, and you were in Four Jacks, which I'd heard the legend of Four Jacks.
Yeah. So we were the jerks that started the '80s thing.
Yeah.
And I apologize for that now because, like I said, it just won't die.
So are you a day one member of members only?
Yeah.
So you're an OG.
Of members. No.
Okay.
No, I am a 2017 edition
Okay. So
to members only.
They've been around for
Since 2009.
Okay. So you're a fairly new addition.
I replaced a much better keyboard player named Will Clark.
Can't imagine.
He's incredible. And I just came in and went, duh, what do I do? Yeah, I can play. Terrible.
So who kind of, when did you know that you had enough talent to make the jump to go to New York? To make that move.
I'm still waiting to find that out. I don't have enough.
Did you have
talent to do
anybody
that
told you, hey, you're really good?
No,
you
they
should
never
try
said
to-
that because I try not to hang out with liars. But so a friend of mine was here in town, was in a production of Cabaret, and it was sort of like shh, don't tell anybody because we don't own the rights to it. So, and of course, none of them who were actually involved in the show, except the crooked producers, knew anything about that.
Right.
And so we were rehearsing in the old Gilloy's Theater before the renovation. So There were holes in the ceiling. There weren't any seats. It was like this cavern. We had like 2 lights pointed at the stage, kind of like this, and you know, building set pieces out of garbage wood that we found in the basement.
Yeah,
I mean, it was pretty rough, but it was really good quality. Like the music was coming along great, and the night before the opening, somebody stopped the production because the boys had not bought the rights to the show.
Right.
So anyway, the girl that played the lead in that, Stephanie Judkins, she and I were pretty good buddies, and the dude that came from New York to do the choreography for them said, "So this didn't work out, but Steph, we think you're really talented, and your friend Jake, you know, sucks, but not nearly as bad as most people, and you know, you guys ought to move to New York. Have you ever thought about moving to New York?" And we went, "New what now?"
Mm-hmm.
You know, no, not really.
Is that close to St. Louis?
Man, that's out east. That's got the thing with the arch. No? Oh, it's the thing with the Empire State Building. Oh, that's Metropolis, like Superman's.
Donnie Baker, ladies and gentlemen.
Oops, I think I just plagiarized. So this guy says, "Hey, come to New York," and we were like, "Well, we don't have any money, you know. Obviously, I'm right out of college, and she's not much out of high school, and so we said, sure, yeah, let's go." So we went to New York, and that was about 2 weeks. I think we were there 2 weeks. We moved there in August. We were there 2 weeks, and then 9/11 happened, and so it was just, you know, as soon as we got there. All
like,
hell broke loose.
You're like, what
Yeah.
the hell is
Yeah,
this?
I'm telling you, I have a
not
lot
funny.
of these kinds of stories.
It's like
It's life.
I've
you know?
never left Missouri bubble, and then I moved to New York, and the largest terrorist attack in all of time happens right next door to your house.
Yeah, exactly. And I was watching it. You know, she and I lived way up north in Washington Heights, so that's like about as far as you can go up the island, north on the island. And I was on my rooftop watching the smoke blow west. You know, and yeah, that was. Sorry, it was blowing east. I need to know things like that. It was really disconcerting. I couldn't get my mom on the phone. Couldn't get anybody on the phone because all the lines were tied up. Even cell phones, just you know, they wouldn't work. And it was on that rooftop. I was like, yeah, this is going to be short-lived for me because I don't want to be here. And it was pretty tough from there on out.
Yeah,
made a lot of great friends. Starved to death. It was fantastic for, you know, keeping the weight off for someone who wants to be a singer.
I just embrace the chubby country singer persona. That's just who I am.
Me too. Sometimes we just get real.
We just get real.
That's the way we are.
I have to say I was extremely pleasant. So the country music friends that we did together was the first time I'd heard you that I could remember. I've seen Members Only a few times, and I'm assuming I've heard you play with them. But when we were backstage rehearsing, and Chelsea and I talked about this. And you were rehearsing that Vince Gill song.
Oh, yeah. Whenever you come around, I love that song. I hadn't sang that in 20 years.
Dude.
It's been a long time.
It was incredible.
I had cheat notes on my hand. Thank you, by the way.
No, it was phenomenal. And then of course, afterwards, after the show's over, Jake comes up to me and he's like, dude, you have a great voice. Like, I'm so jealous of your voice and yada yada. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I just heard you nail Vince Gill.
Oh, well.
And not many people can nail Vince Gill.
It's just a little high, and you just got to sing quiet, you know? Just don't overdo it. That's what I say.
It was very delicate, and it was
Thanks, man.
excellent.
Thank you. That was a fun night.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that we can play together at some point again.
Absolutely.
It was a blast.
A couple old tenors like us, man.
We'll sing all the high notes. It's going to be real nice.
Let's do some Leanne Womack.
Whoa, Mac.
Whoa, Mac. Okay. So, I mean, how was California? Were you
Oh, man,
after that? You were so you had won Star Search twice.
Yep.
And I really want to talk about the Oprah thing at some point.
That all happened about the same time.
Was
too.
it? Okay. So this is perfect.
Well, one begat the other.
Okay. So Jake wins Star Search for the second time. And Oprah lines up a show with you. I guess I'm assuming she had seen your story
Yeah.
thought you were cool on Star Search.
Well,
Is that how that
remember
happened?
how I spent all my money on my press agent?
Yes.
And she's fantastic.
Okay.
Well, if it wasn't for her, nothing ever would have happened
she
to
still
me
your press
at
agent?
all. I wish.
No.
I can't afford it. I haven't been able to afford that in years. But boy, if I could,
Boy,
she'd
if
be
I
the
could.
one.
Yep.
She's a fantastic human being. Her name's Cheryl Kagan, and she's just one of the most lovely people you'll ever meet in your life. So anyway, she knew one of the line producers at the Oprah show, and let me see. This has been a while back. I was on vacation. First one I ever had. Whole bunch of people. We all took off and went to Key West. And I got a call while I was there, and it was her, and she said, "Hey, are you sitting down?" And I said, "No, but I can. Do I need to?"
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, "Well, the Oprah show would like to have you come on and sing a Stevie Wonder song since you won a couple of shows with a Stevie Wonder song." And I was like, okay, when? Thinking it was going to be like in 2 or 3 weeks. Tomorrow.
Oh.
So needless to say, I had a killer tan already going on there.
Yeah.
And I missed my first plane, which was a puddle jumper, trying to get from Key West to Miami and then all the way to Chicago. And so I got the next one. Thank goodness. Got the next one and got there just in time. I had about 15 minutes in the green room before they brought me on. And, of course, I'm nervous as I can be because, this is like Oprah, Of course, I didn't see her or anything.
Right.
It's all a big surprise, for that moment. And I didn't know all of these things yet. So I walk out there in my white pants and my black shirt and walk through the crowd and completely ignore everybody because I'm so nervous, and people are like reaching out, trying to shake my hand, like, get through the crowd. Get up on stage, and she talks a little bit. I can't hear a thing she's saying. I'm literally having to read her lips. I don't have any ears in. There's no monitors, nothing. It's just like, now what? And she's asking me questions. I'm like, okay, I understand. I can answer that. And I was so nervous that I just totally geeked out. Like, I can spell my name, So she's like, well, here's Jake, singing Stevie Wonder. Isn't she lovely? Dun, dun, and I get to the first verse.
So you could hear it when the song music came in?
I could, but it was all from the mains. Like, they're
pointing towards the crowd.
Yeah. But I've done that enough times in life that I was like, well, I'm going to make this happen.
Yeah.
And so I get through the first verse, and all of a sudden, this harmonica solo's there. And I'm like, why did they cut my track? That solo is in my track. But I thought, well, they cut it and didn't tell me, are we maybe only doing one verse? And so in my head, as I'm kind of keeping it together, I'm thinking, do we need to stop? And about this, that split second that happened, all this stuff happened, and curtain opens up, and there's, Stevie, and everybody shoots up out of their chairs, and I'm watching everybody shooting up out of those chairs thinking, I just screwed this up. Why are they happy? Why are they, doing all this? And then I noticed that they were all looking behind me, and I went, oh my gosh, I think I know what's going on. And I turn around like this, and it's him playing the harmonica solo over the track.
Stevie freaking Wonder.
Yeah, like
Is behind
the
you.
Steve, the
And
Steveland,
were you a huge Stevie Wonder
massive.
fan?
I still am.
So like I can't imagine like Aerosmith is my favorite band of all time.
Well, yeah.
I love Aerosmith. Like if Steven Tyler
Popped
or
out
Joe
from behind
Perry
the curtain behind
or
you.
somebody, popped out behind me,
Yeah.
I'd be like, what? Like I don't know.
was
How do you even
freakish.
keep it together? And I know I just watched the video today again, just to like refresh my memory. You didn't really keep it together.
No,
for
I
a
kind of
brief
lost
period.
it. And then you do this your whole life, and I have lived my entire life since I was 5 on a stage.
Yeah.
And so your professionalism kicks in, and you go, wait a minute, this could be really great. I'm going to start singing again. Let's see what happens here.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. And so I pull it together and singing, about a quarter step sharp because I'm so excited and because I can't hear anything.
Right.
Well, he's got in-ears in, so he can hear everything. Yeah. And he's like, sing it, Jake. And like, okay, hey, that's lovely. He was such a champ.
So did you get to talk to him afterwards and briefly? At least
these kinds of things, there's no hang time.
Yeah.
I wish there was, but in lieu of hang time, there was the scattered walk or run from the stage back to the green room area.
Right.
And he and his handlers were behind me, as I was being ushered out, and I hear him, who later I found out he's talking to a couple of A&R guys from Motown, and he's like, "Hey, you need to sign this kid. You need to sign this guy. He doesn't suck." And I, that just further shows you what a nice guy is and how good of a liar. So shortly after that, I got a call from Motown that said, "Hey, we don't know for sure what's going to happen with this, but we'd like to do a little development deal with you." Mm-hmm. And I went, "That's great. What's a development deal? Mm-hmm. I'm a dummy from the Midwest. I don't know anything." And so they explained to me that, we'll give you 3 songs to do, and if they turn out great, well, then we'll sign you.
Sign you, yeah.
So, and that was like after I'd already had 2 record contracts. The one for the first season of Star Search. That was the one that we actually made an album. Right. I hated it. I hated everything about it. And they put it on a shelf, as they usually do. And then the second season, they did something with, I can't even remember which record company it was, but that's when Napster was popular. Oh. And then about 5 minutes later, Napster died. Mm-hmm. So that was the second contract that went like that. Yeah. And so this was the 3rd time, and I was pretty over it. Yeah. I was over the whole record company BS. Right. And my heart was just constantly getting broken by all this stuff happening. And but anyway, we did a couple songs, and they were pretty good. I worked with some real popular producers, and we had some decent stuff going on. And so one day I'm walking down the sidewalk, going to get lunch, and I call to ask my A&R guy something. And I say, "Hey, is there?" And this is Jake Simpson. And they say, "Who?" And I said, I'm not going to say his name. Yeah. And they said, I'm sorry, we don't know who that is. And I went, heartbroken again. So I call home, and I call my dad. I'm like, well, 3rd time's a charm, right? Actually, it's going to have to be the 4th time. So that was the end of that.
Wow. So, I mean, in your opinion, and I talked to Chelsea about this topic in the last episode too. I mean, in your opinion, somebody as talented as you, who had, ample opportunity in terms of winning the show.
Oh, yeah.
And then you've got somebody like Chelsea who's extremely, extremely talented.
Like the best.
And got like a 3-second shot at The Voice. Like they cut her off, and they're like, "No, you're not what we're looking for. Keep going." I mean, kind of what do you think that it takes? Is it?
I think I'm a terrible judge of that because I am 100% completely jaded by the whole process.
Oh, yeah.
I no longer have an objective point of view with that stuff. I think it's awful. I think they're all bad. I can't watch them on TV. They're nothing but a source of pain and anguish for me, with the exception of Star Search. They did great things for me. But you never see that kind of show. Right. You never see a variety show. It's all about people singing badly with nothing going on, and the production sucks for the first bit until they're on the big huge stage. Right. And it's so bland. It's like just so digital. Yeah. I think of life in a funny way, since I'm into music and I'm into light and things like that, and I'm not like weird. I mean, like literally like light bulbs. What does the light look like? Is the light something that feels like the way that magnetic tape sounds to me? Like, is there warmth in it? Is there life in it? And I just think of all that stuff as being a big, nasty LED bulb that makes me want to blink really fast like this, because I feel like I can see through the wavelengths. And everything is a 1 and a 0 and there's just nothing authentic and real. Yeah. It's all fake and quantized and generic.
It's like Saul Goodman's brother in Better Call Saul, and he's like got an allergic reaction to the lights.
Oh, yeah.
Electricity. And he's like lining his coats with foil. And that's Jake Simpson in a nutshell.
Yay! No, that's me in a nutshell. I can't handle I feel like I call it VFW lighting. Yeah. Where it's real white. Yeah. And it's real sterile. I'm just very
like
odd.
Hospital
I'm
lights.
a very strange person. Yeah, I hate fluorescence. They make me crazy.
You've got a nice warmth.
Those are incandescent bulbs. Okay. I think they're probably 10 years old.
You got one out.
Yeah, I know. That's the bummer.
So never in a million years would Jake Simpson ever try out for another show.
Well, I say no, but I did. I did one audition for The Voice. Okay. It was right before I decided to move back home. Like 13 or 14. And I went and bought a suit, and some real nice shoes, and got a haircut, made sure I looked my best. And I went, and I actually had a private audition. I didn't do a cattle call. And I went and did a private audition, took my buddy with me, he played guitar, and we did Let's Stay Together or something like that. And it took them a month to call back, and they said, no, we're not really looking for that. And I went, that's it, I'm done.
Yeah.
And for 5 years, every time they had another round, they would email me, come and audition, come on. I just trash. My manager hates that. I still have the same, a different, but I've had the same manager for about 10 years now, and he's still in LA, and he's like, I can't believe that you won't take these opportunities. And I'm like, dude, if you knew how bad it hurts when they say no, you wouldn't be surprised. There's only so much of that, even my gigantic ego that barely fits through the door can handle.
Yeah. And the reason I asked is because I've seen like there's been people that have either made it onto American Idol that have gone to try out for The Voice, and that's part of their story. It's part of he was on American
they
Idol.
all use it. It's about the boo-hoo story, and my cat died, and my dog died. Jeez, people, just sing. Just let your talent speak for you,
Yeah, the one that surprised me was Billy Gilman. Do you remember Billy Gilman?
I remember the name.
He was a young kid, like a kid country singer, like when I was growing up. And so you would have been like 40 already, but
probably,
he was like 10 or something. He was really little, and he had a really good, successful, like a few songs and record deals and stuff like that. And then he just kind of like fell off the face of the earth. And then all of a sudden he pops up on The Voice, and part of you's like, man, you already had your shot, dude. Like
you got your shot, and now get out of the way and let somebody else.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's also, Chelsea was saying, a lot of those shows the auditions are set up by managements and
if you're lucky,
right, and things like that.
Lucky,
so you've got a wedge to get in. But my thing is, I told Chelsea, like, I grew up with both parents. I had everything I ever wanted and everything I ever needed, and I was very fortunate.
Your sob stories are few and far between.
Yes,
good for
exactly. I just had to put my dog down after 15 years, and that's like as hard as things have ever been.
I've had to do that.
It's the worst. The worst.
Yeah.
The worst.
It is.
Terrible. So you go to LA or California. You decide to come back home. And at that point, were you ready to be done with music altogether?
So over it. I was super depressed and just broke as I could be, and it was getting to the point where I was ready to do something severe about it. Bad depression. And I remember driving up to Malibu, parking my car on the side of Highway 1, and that's where all the big cool rocks are, kind of out beyond the beach. And I kind of leaped around on them till I got out to one, and I just sat there and I stared at the sunset, and I called my mom and I said, I just don't know what else to do. I've done everything I can. I have literally tried everything except selling drugs, to make a living. And I was like, Mom, I don't know what to do. And she's like, why don't you just come home?
Yeah.
And I said, I can't just come home. Who do you think I am? I'm not moving back to Crocker, And then I went, wow, that would be really nice. I could do nothing if I wanted to. I could tear my old Camaro apart again and start restoring it again. I could do this. And just a few months before that, we'd kind of noticed some changes in my dad. My parents are divorced, but they live a mile away from one another. So we've all been real happy. And about the same time, the last visit I'd made home, I noticed some weird stuff about my dad, like, reaching for the doorknob on the wrong side of the door. And I just noticed it. No one said anything about it, but I just noticed what he did. And I went, uh-oh, because Alzheimer's runs in our family. And so I saw that happen, and combined with my frustration about living in Los Angeles, not being able to afford it, and the phone call with my mom, I was like, you know what, maybe it is time. Maybe it's time to sort of give up and go back home, kind of regroup, and maybe come back in a couple years whenever I figure some stuff out. I also had a cool Rhodes gig that was supposed to happen, and that was going to take about a year, and so I had that in my back pocket. Okay, I'll go home for a year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that didn't pan out, so stayed home for a couple years, and started tearing down my '67 Camaro again, and I was like, I'm gonna do something smart. I don't have any money, but I'm gonna do this anyway. I'll do it all myself. Big deal. Who cares? I did it before. I'll do it again. And so it was really nice, actually.
Yeah.
I stayed at my mom's house in the bedroom I grew up in. Slept great every night. I didn't starve to death. There was always something to make. And then I got this gig with members.
Yeah.
And
which is
it was great.
Yeah, it's been great. Were you kind of like were you kind of like the hometown hero when you came home?
No.
Like, were you lauded as?
No, not that I know of. I'd been gone for so long that it's like, who's that guy?
Uh-huh.
And what's wrong with his hair? Yeah. Weirdo
he
on
don't
stage
look
wearing
like he's from around here.
I'll tell you one thing, he ain't from my street.
Wearing eye makeup on stage and wearing stuff like this old Yes thing from '83. So it was just like, hey, I'm ready to be weird.
Yeah.
I'm in an '80s band that wears wigs and weird stuff, and I think I like it.
Yeah.
Let's do that. So that's kind of the mode I'm still in, and I drove back and forth every weekend to go to shows. I put like 100,000 miles on my car, driving back and forth, and finally I just decided, about a year and a half ago, I was like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
I'm okay now. I've got money. I'm working,
Right.
and I think it's time to move back somewhere that's I can go eat go get a sandwich next door or something like that. So that's why I moved back here.
So I talked about the success of members. I mean, you guys have like 50,000 followers on Facebook, and
Do we really?
yeah,
Facebook. That's the one with internet.
I think it's the one your grandma probably uses to ask you what the weather's like.
Did you?
On the book space? Did you poke me on the book space?
Now, is that the one that you could put songs in? They've worked very hard for that over the years, and that band is very diligent, and they've always had a really great work ethic. And I think that's what I respect most about all of the members who have been in members for the last few years, is everybody has a really good work ethic. And we're a cover band, so that's as far as it goes pretty much. But I think we like to try to do the very best we can to make the songs sound like people remember them sounding 30, 40 years ago. Yeah. And I think we do a pretty good job of that, and we work really hard at it. So
excellent. Yeah. And I mean, you've got people that follow my old PE teacher. Her name's Bunny. Do you know Bunny?
Mm-mm. But that's a fantastic name for a PE teacher.
It is great. Her name is Bunny, and her friend Carrie, if either of them are listening, they are like members only obsessed.
Oh, good.
Obsessed, like every show. And I'm like, I hope that they come to my shows someday. And I have a band because they like directly know me, so maybe they're like, I'm like on Facebook, like, oh, it's Friday night, members only is playing, and there's Bunny. Yep, that's it. So how is it to be a heartthrob of the 60-somethings? I mean, you've got a lot of, that's kind of your demographic. Is
yeah.
I mean, a lot of young people love it too.
Isn't that far removed from my older generation?
I really didn't mean to come in your.
I came
into your house.
Well, I'm not a heartthrob at all. I'm the guy that's in the back going, okay, it's time for the next song. What do we do next? What we do? Oh, got to change this sound. Got to change this sound. Do this. Do this. So I let the pretty people have the front, and I'll take the back.
So who's the heartthrob? Who do you think's the heartthrob? Zach?
Well, no, clearly Chelsea was.
Well, obviously.
And will be again this year. I think she's going to sub with us every once in a while.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
We're new girl stoked. Is who?
Sarah.
What's her story?
She's fantastic.
That's what I've heard.
She does. She's been doing a show in Branson for a while.
Okay.
And she came and auditioned, and she just absolutely blew it out of the park.
I told Chelsea, I was like, because Chelsea was talking about, I was so nervous because I'm a female and I don't know how they're gonna receive that. And I was like, you've obviously converted them because they replaced you with another female.
Well, we had no idea what to expect with that too. We thought we vacillated all the way from everyone's gonna suddenly hate us to, oh my gosh, we could do all different songs now, you know, because we've got a real girl in the band.
Right.
It was interesting because the first few shows, of course, I mean, she's amazing.
Yeah.
So she immediately reached out and grabbed every single person in the audience with that voice, and her confidence is everything.
Oh,
she was like, "Yeah, I don't, guys.
Killer stage.
I'm not going to use lyrics, guys. I've got this done. I got it handled. It's memorized. Okay.
Yeah.
I use lyrics for songs I've been singing for the last 5 years.
It's just
see
a
'em.
security blanket, man.
Well, yeah, and first verse, second verse. What's the difference?
That's right. That's right. So I want to know what your favorite venue is.
Oh, golly.
That you've played. I will ask you this question because you guys play a lot. I've shied away from asking the little solo musicians like myself, and because I don't want to piss anybody off. But
well, we have done. I mean, I totally get that, by the way, because it's a personal relationship that you have with venues, even when they're not the best venues.
Yeah.
Gosh, I don't know. We've played for crowds of 30 people that we've had massive good time, and everybody's into the music, and they're right in our face the whole time, and the vibe is right, Mm-hmm. And we've played for 4,000 or 5,000 people at, like, say, the State Fair.
Well, I won a Republic. Was it last year that had like 17,000 or something?
Yeah, those are always fun, but
was crazy.
But you're real far removed.
Yeah.
So for someone like me, I like to directly communicate with people in front of me.
Right.
I can, hey, that was a song by blah blah, and so just sang it, and it's like you hear the echo off of the hills and the buildings.
Yep.
And so that's not as much fun. It's a rush being in front of all those people on a big, huge sound system, and the subwoofers thump, thump, thump going crazy, and you feel like, yeah, I'm a real rock star, I really got this down, man. and then you go play in a bar for 30 people.
Yeah.
That's just the music business as a whole, though. It's just like that. So I don't know about favorite.
Yeah.
We do a casino show. And now I'm trying to remember which one it is, where it is a dedicated music venue, a big, huge, clean stage. There's no smoking.
Oof.
Yes!
Yeah.
And,
Praise the
a
Lord.
bar at the back of the room, and the sound's pretty decent, and the personnel that we get to work with are really great. I think we kind of categorize things like the casino gigs. We've got the really bad ones, and then we've got that one that's a really good one.
Yeah.
So I'll say that's my favorite casino show to do,
Okay.
and we usually have pretty good
fair.
crowds there.
I mean, I think you kind of answered the question. You like the more intimate.
I kind of do.
I mean, it's more your thing.
As long as people are into it, I don't care if there's 5 people in front of us. Just if they're
Yes.
into it, I'm all about it. All about it, as we say up north. Yeah.
It makes a huge difference, and I've talked before. I mean, it's sometimes you're hired, and probably not so much members only now, but for me as a soloist, it's like sometimes I'm hired just to be noise.
Oh yeah, the background
music.
gig. I've done a million of
Yeah,
them.
and it's fine.
Yep.
I'm fine with that. But I want to know that, and I'll find out real quick when I get there and I start playing.
Well, when there's like 25 TVs and they've all got sports playing, you know your background.
Right.
I mean,
but I would every day of the week give me 5 people who want to listen over 150 people that don't.
Who don't? Absolutely.
So that's
Do you ever get like in a show like that, and you're doing your thing and you're doing a ballad, and it's like you can't even hear yourself because they're all talking so loud and having such a great time. Good for them. So,
congratulations on your friends that you have.
Yeah, that's really great that y'all go out and drink beer. You ever have that moment where you, instead of trying to be louder, you just
kind of fade off?
You just pull it way back, and you're like, okay, if y'all don't want to listen, I'm just going to sing to myself. And I'll tell you what, I asked that because that's what I used to do.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I pulled back and just didn't care, all of a sudden people lean in and they start listening.
Mm-hmm.
Do I know this song?
What's he doing?
Do I? We can't hear you. Can you turn it up?
Yeah.
Sure, okay. Auxiliary 9.
Uh-huh.
You know, you leave it exactly the same.
Yep.
And you just keep going soft because then they shut the people up behind them that are really being
Right.
obnoxious.
Yeah,
You know, and it's the oh my gosh, my best friend is getting married tomorrow and we're out for her party. You know, and it's always that. They're not there to listen to you and
Right.
you know, but they're there because that's what the business needs. And so you just constantly come back. Just
Yeah.
let it be what it is. Just
Yep.
chill out, sing your song, collect the paycheck, and go home.
Yeah. and
Sometimes it's work.
it is, and you know, it's probably a bad mindset to have, but you know, when I first started out, it's been 10 years ago ish since I started on kind of the local circuit. I was playing two restaurants in Branson that were not paying me,
Yeah,
and
that sounds
I was
kind of
making-
Branson.
Yeah, I was making tips, and I was not making tips,
Yep.
but I was making tips. And so finally, when I kind of built up a little bit of a following and a little bit of a resume, you know, I started getting paid, and you get to the point where you're like, I don't care if people don't want to listen. I'm still making my money. I'm gonna
Yeah.
go home,
Well, you have to compartmentalize it, right? It's
Yeah,
not that you don't
right.
care. You compartmentalize it into, well, it's that night.
Yep.
I'll remember this next time, and unfortunately, I won't want to set up this gig again. I won't want to
Right.
do it. I'll be in a bad mood when I get there because I know I'm going to get ignored for 4 hours, and
And there's a lot of venues around that I don't know why they spend the money
I don't either.
on music.
I'm going to check something. I don't.
Please go for it.
I just want to make sure that we're still recording.
That would have been terrible.
Oh, it's a 3-hour session. No big deal. You get to that point and you get frustrated with it, and then you're like, God, I need to find a different gig. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I used to be in that all the time. When I was in school, I would drive all the way to Lake of the Ozarks from Springfield, and do a gig in a beautiful restaurant that was round. And me and my buddy who played piano for me, we would just sit there all night in the middle of this circle, and I would have to perform 360 degrees to everybody. And we would just do like cool old Sinatra standards, and you know, I loved it. It was fantastic. That was the one gig that I think I've ever done, especially for a long period of time, that I didn't really care. I just didn't care if they listened or not, because I was hearing exactly what I wanted to hear. The speakers were placed just so I could hear everything I did. I could have a mic out here and it wouldn't matter. You know, it would
Right.
just still sound really nice. And my piano player friend, bless his heart, he passed away a couple years ago, and he was an incredible piano player, and I learned a lot of stuff just from watching him play piano. How to get out of mistakes, how to go to different keys and stuff like that.
Right.
And that's the only gig I've ever had where I just really didn't care if anyone was listening because I was just having so much fun anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, and those are great. And
Few and far between, my friend.
they are, and I want to touch on your original stuff too, because I know you've written some stuff.
Oh yeah, I have.
Yeah,
Okay.
But I've talked at length about how I don't want to put my original songs out there if I have a crowd who's not listening,
Yeah, because they're worth a lot to you.
So
they're
much.
worth your heart,
even
man.
if they're crap.
Yeah.
And I think my songs are all crap.
Good,
Mostly.
because they're probably not. But I think the same thing about mine. We should always think that our own stuff is
Yes.
crap. That way, we always work to get better at it.
My wife asked me when we were engaged. She was like, "Are you gonna write a song for me?" And I
You're
was like, "Yeah, of course I am."
Okay, but probably not until you break up with me.
Yeah.
Oh.
We were pressing like the week of our wedding, and she was wanting to hear it, and I was like, I've got to be honest with you, I haven't even started on it. Just hasn't come to me yet.
Oh, because you were going to do it at the wedding.
I was gonna play it at the wedding.
Oh, that's too much pressure. Oh, man.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I would have thrown up.
The two nights before, so the night before our rehearsal dinner, I woke up in the middle of the night.
And that was
had
there?
it.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, I love those
And I wrote it. And she wants me to play it all the time, and I don't, because I don't think it's good. But the story of it is good. And
Yeah.
so I don't think it matters if the
Yeah.
song is not as good as I want it to be. It's very basic, but the words meant what
Ain't
the words
nothing
meant.
wrong with basic, especially nowadays. You know, the simpler
Yeah.
the better in a lot of cases, honestly. I mean,
let's just repeat the same thing 50,000 times in a song, and we're gonna.
hey, it's a pop song.
Gonna get a Grammy.
Yeah, it's a
So-
pop song. Oh, don't forget to really auto-tune the crap out of it too, so
Yes,
that
of course.
it sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah. What song do you have any songs you just like hate right now?
Where do I
All of them.
Okay, I stopped listening to the radio. I mean, I'm trying to really remember when I gave up.
Okay.
I mean, you only want to hit yourself over the head with a shoe
Yeah.
for so long, so many times.
Yeah.
And eventually you wise up and you stop hitting yourself over the head with the shoe, and you put the shoe down and you go find a
Spotify.
yeah.
I'll listen to Stevie Wonder every day.
And I did that. I mean, I'm going back into like 98, 99, 2000, 2001.
Wow.
I had given up years before that. I remember being in 6th grade and sitting with my mom and my brother in the 86 Taurus. And that was the first car that anyone ever had around me that had a good radio. One that didn't go when you tune it in. You just press the button and it's, sought out and scanned, which is what everything does now anyway, if it's FM. And I remember saying to Mom, because she had it up really loud, and I was like, Mom, can you just turn it down? It's like pins and needles hitting me in the head. I had like a jack moment. And and that's the first time I remember being affected
Right.
by pop, like modern pop music, and it affecting me in a way that did not suit my palate. Even when I was 12 years old, it got on my nerves. So I think I actually sort of declined listening to current music, started then, and by the time I was in college, I never ever listened to FM radio.
Do you think you're just an old soul?
Oh yeah, for sure.
mean,
No,
so-
I am, but I'm also just really picky about what I
Yeah.
listen to, because for a couple of reasons, I just get mad.
Right.
I get physically angry. Here's a funny story that really illustrates that. So when I lived in LA, I took a road trip with one of my buddies, and I didn't want to be like that uncool guy that just turns the radio off or listens to NPR, like it's what I do. And so we're listening to the pop radio station. I'm like, and I'm driving, right? So eventually I get this wicked stomach ache. That's not a pukey stomach ache, but a like stress, like all the stress
Yeah.
is going to right there, and all the
Yeah.
blood's in your tummy, and you start to get a little white faced, and you lose your finger feeling in your fingers. And I said, "Do you mind if I just turn the radio off?" And so that's how I know that it physically affects
Yeah.
me. It's not just that I'm a jerk
Right.
or that I'm some sort of savant who can only listen to classical. It just actually really physically affects me, and I hate it. So I stopped listening decades ago. So I don't have a favorite song, and I probably couldn't tell you a single song that's on pop radio right now. I don't know.
So what do you listen to? I mean, you still go back to Stevie Wonder?
Not a whole
You
lot
just listen
anymore.
to 80s and try to
No, I
perfect
hate
your craft?
80s too
Okay.
because I'm sick of that, know. So the things that I listen to are, I always tend to go way back into the world of tape.
Yeah.
Stuff from the 70s, maybe early 80s. A few years ago, I got like wicked into yacht rock. It was the only thing that I listened to. So I'm listening to music that's no later than 83, and that would not have been on the rock and roll station.
Yeah.
You
And I
know?
saw your performance on Ozarks Live. You were playing an America song,
Oh yeah,
which was great.
yeah, with Ryan.
Vibing.
Yeah, that's I was just really only listening to that. So these days, it's either that I still listen to the yacht rock thing. I go back to super old school country, 1958, 59, 60 through about 1970, and then I need to stop there.
Yeah.
But
Unless
because
it's Vince Gill.
unless it's Vince Gill, because that is a different era of
Yes.
country that I also love.
Yes.
From around 77, 78, country started getting what was considered to be more pop because it was all being made in LA by the same studio players who were like Toto people,
Right.
studio players like that.
Right.
And so all of a sudden it sounded really good. It just
Kind of had a little bit of a rednecky sounding vocal on it, and I'm fine with that.
and so I really do go back and forth between those two things, and I'm a nerd, love the Carpenters, can't seem to get past the Carpenters.
And you like talk radio.
And I do, yeah. If I'm in the
NPR.
car and I'm not listening to something that I did,
Right.
going, oh crap, the bass is too loud,
I hate that.
then I'm listening to NPR,
Yeah.
and usually it's from my phone because I'm still listening to LA NPR
Okay.
because they still do the shows that I like,
Yeah.
And
So aside from the music scene, did you like living in LA?
oh, I love it. I miss it terribly.
Okay.
I didn't even mind the music scene. I just couldn't. I mean, you can't afford to live there.
Yeah.
I lived in Van Nuys the last couple of years I was there, and it was rough. I mean, there was a quinceañera across the street every weekend until like 4 o'clock in the morning. I couldn't sleep, and it's mariachi music that I also can't stand, and loud.
Yeah.
So loud, and in all of the bad frequencies, the sort
Yeah.
of megaphone,
So you've obviously you've played on the biggest in the national spotlight.
I played for 12 weeks in front of 12 million people. No, I used to joke about there was like 12 people in Arkansas that watched what we did. Yeah.
Well, it was CBS.
Yeah.
So, now, do you still get nervous? Do you ever get nervous performing to this day? Is it just kinda
generally
second nature?
no, because I don't get on stage and do something that's not in my body.
Right.
The only time I'm nervous is if I have not prepared for something new.
Yeah.
And in that case, I'm going to tell you what, I will go to Walmart and I will buy 100 poster boards and with a Sharpie if I have to, and write out lyrics great big and stick them on the lip of the stage in front of me. I've done that a lot. It's always very frowned upon, by whoever's producing the show. But I'm like, hey, do you want this to happen, or do you want me to freeze up and lose my mind?
Right.
So I don't really get nervous anymore.
Do you have
I
any
don't think.
Superstitions before you go on stage? Do you do anything to
I
get
warm
yourself
up.
ready? Yeah.
And
Do
in
mommy
the
made me
summertime,
mash my M&Ms?
no, that's actually a real warm up. Did you know that?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
used to do it all the time.
I do a warm up that I learned when I did Star Search from a guy named Seth Riggs,
Okay.
who's a pretty popular vocal coach in LA and cost way more than I would make in like a month, but I didn't have to pay for it, thank goodness.
Right.
And so I always do that warm up, and I taught it to Chelsea. I don't know if she does
Can
it
you
or
teach
not.
it to me?
I sure can. Yeah, it's really easy. It goes like this. Just kidding.
Let's
We won't
hear
do
it.
that right now.
Oh.
It takes a piano. No,
Oh,
you got to do it
okay.
with piano.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just
Wow.
lip buzzes. There's nothing amazing about it. It's just lip buzzes. And this right
And
here.
water. Yeah.
In the summertime when we do shows, the first thing I'll start drinking water as soon as I get up in the morning, and
Right.
then I will not stop drinking water. I will go get a electrolyte thing, and I'll drink that like right before I go on the show, or before I go on stage to do the show, and I have to be hyper hydrated to safely sing notes that I have never really had. But
Yeah.
since I'm getting older, I have to really, really fatten up those chords before they resonate, in
Right.
that mixy spot, the Stevie spot, I call it. It's the
Stevie
Stevie
spot.
spot. About B flat above middle C. That's where my break is, so that's where it hurts.
Do you have a song in your set list right now that you despise? All of
I
them?
mean,
Or do you have a favorite? Favorites are easier. Do you have a favorite?
not really.
How many songs do you lead?
Oh, no more than I absolutely have to. Maybe I'll sing up to 4 or 5 in a night. The past year, since we were kind of in transition and Chelsea was helping us out, I sang a few more, just to kind of equalize the show out a little bit from what the last guy that was before Chelsea, what he sang, so we could kind of still keep some of those songs.
Right.
But they are songs that I would not normally have sung.
Gotcha.
But favorites. I really like a little, and this is really dumb because it's a pop band and it's an 80s cover band, but I love sophisticated music. It doesn't have to be snobby. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be classical.
Right.
I am a jazz lover from the word go, like from the beginning of time. I cut my teeth playing jazz. And it's not like I'm like a super snob, although, I kind of am, because I get really bored
Right.
with, like say blues music, 3 chords,
Right.
all night long, same 3 chords played, and they're all different songs, but they're all the same song to
Country
me.
is too.
Yeah, country's
3
the
chords
same
of
way.
the truth,
You can
baby.
stack country songs together like in Pro Tools and literally match up where everything goes. They're all the same.
Yeah.
So that gets on my nerves. So
Yeah.
really super basic music that doesn't maybe have any guitars or vocals, or sorry, music that doesn't have any keyboard parts. That's distorted guitar stuff. I don't get off on that. I don't actually. It goes in one ear and right out the other.
Right.
So there are a lot of songs that I absolutely hate, but unfortunately I can't think of one right now that I really like. Whatever I'm working on that's maybe new.
Do you have you spent a lot of time writing. You released an album, 2 albums, however many albums, several albums.
I did. So the first one, was on Sony Columbia, and it was not good. It was outdated the day it came out. That was not my fault, though. That was the producer's fault. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth, Jake. That's mouth. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth, Jake. That's what he told me on the phone before we went in to record. And I was like, okay, I know where that's going.
Yeah.
Meat.
Glue Factory.
I should have called it Glue Factory.
Yeah,
that's
you
what
should have.
Yeah.
So do you still write? Is where I'm going.
Yes, I do.
You still do
so
that?
I just released. Although there is no such thing unless you have a label.
Right.
There's no such thing as releasing an album like it's any big deal. Basically, I got 12 songs finished.
Yeah.
And I haven't even done the cover
together.
art.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what do we do? We've got Spotify where you don't get paid to put your music on.
Right.
There's Facebook. You put your music on there for free as well. It's all of these places that you can promote your music, but you make nothing from it.
Right.
And so I'm kind of like hoarding it, going,
well, this music is really special, and it took me a whole year to do this album.
So I'll give it away for free to people I love.
Yeah. Well, I'm always concerned, and I've only had one song that I got like professionally recorded, mastered, and the guy that did it for me is a local guy, and he's a studio musician for some people in Nashville. And so he'll get stuff from Rascal Flatts. I'll send him, and hey, play the fiddle on this song. Our fiddle player's sick, whatever.
Yeah.
And he'll cut it and send it back. So he liked the song, and he said, I'm going to send it to some people down there, toss it around, whatever, see what happens. And I don't know, probably 6 months later, Brett Young, who's a country singer right now, came out with a song that sounded
exactly like it. Mm-hmm.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot. Now, I'm nobody, okay?
Yes,
just
you
clarify.
are. You're somebody who writes music that is original, and it should be yours and no one else's unless they pay you for it.
But I did get a copyright on it. I filed copyright before I sent it and did all of that.
Good deal.
And it was probably, it probably wasn't as much like it as I thought it was. Like the words were different, obviously.
Well, we were just talking about how all country songs sound the same.
Yes, maybe I'm just a simpleton writing a.
It's nothing wrong with that.
But the first time I heard that song, I was like, "Holy crap, that sounds just like my song."
Yeah.
And it's just Chelsea and I were talking. It's a machine. They
that
found
one.
what has worked, and they just churn.
And that's why it's so generic. Everything I say it like this. Everything sounds like a Taco Bell commercial. Everything.
Old school. Yo quiero Taco Bell.
Sí. Necesito. Tengo hambre. Ay. Yeah, it all sounds the same to me. But that's not just country.
Yeah, no,
that's
it's not.
all the pop stuff. When I do end up, in a spot where I can't get away from it, and it's pounding me in the head. Like in restaurants, if you're like, oh God, here's another T-Pain.
You Applebee's.
Yeah. You know what? Okay, here's what it sounds like. They have a turkey call in their mouth.
They probably do, actually.
That's my impression of autotune. Thank you.
Sounds like
Luke
Bryan. Sounds a lot.
Oh
like
my gosh! So you get it? Okay.
But he's a coach on American Idol.
Well, I guess anybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you've written music. Is there a song that you've written or a song that you just haven't written that you just like that makes you emotional?
Ooh, emotions
time.
and music
Yeah.
now.
Beautiful.
Once upon a time that happened a lot. Music has for so long been my job that I really have a difficult time connecting it with real emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you, the last time that it hit me kind of strong, I'm never emotional about my own music,
right?
Generally speaking. But let's see, a couple years ago was my last, I went back to LA and I did a standard show with a really, really incredible music director playing piano. And we spent a couple days kind of coming up with some more interesting arrangements of Fly Me to the Moon. You know, Fly Me to the Moon. It's all medium swing.
Love me some
Here we go.
Sinatra, baby.
You know, oh, and I do too. I really do.
Yeah.
But we came up with this groovy, like chill, but swingy version of Billie Jean. And
Dude, I do a country acoustic version
you?
of Billie Jean, and everybody always loves
they
it.
freak out, right?
It well, not to interrupt you, but mine was based on a band called the Civil Wars. It used to be around, a country band. It was just a man and a woman, and they did a really, really super acoustic, deep version of Billie Jean.
Yeah.
And I was in a competition called Mizzou Idol when I was at Mizzou.
Sweet.
And, top 5 voted fan favorite.
Oh, well, no big deal there. Okay.
Okay, here we go. Talking to the guy that won Star Search twice, but anyways, we am I unplugging something?
I don't think so.
I'm rolling over my headset. Anyways, yeah, I performed that at Mizzou Idol, and everybody loved it. And one of the judges owned the Blue Note in Columbia at the time. And he was trying his best to do Simon Cowell impression, and he told me he'd heard that rendition of Billie Jean in every karaoke bar in Columbia.
Oh, how nice! Didn't that make you feel good? Do you think he went home
He was a
feeling better?
dirty liar because nobody had ever heard that rendition of Billie Jean.
No,
Anyways,
the problem that I have with it is that it's been done before.
yeah,
Right.
terrible. Anyways,
Jerk.
both the other judges loved it. The crowd loved it, and I got like 85% of the fan favorite vote. So
Fantastic.
but anyways, carry on. I would love to
That's
hear about
great.
this because I do
Well,
it too.
I am so glued to anything from the Thriller album because it is literally some of my first music. I learned it phonetically.
Almost perfect album-wise.
Absolutely.
Almost perfect.
Yep. Trying to think of something that I don't like about that album, and there's nothing.
Listen to it straight through.
Maybe Eddie Van Hagar's solo and Beat It. I could have done without that, but whatever. It made the song, so. I was so connected to Billie Jean. Billie Jean was my favorite song when I was 8.
Mm-hmm.
And for a year or two, it's the only thing I remember listening to. I had it, albums, cassettes, singles, 45.
Mm-hmm.
I had it on everything. You know, I just wore stuff out listening to it. And so when we rearranged it, I had to really go back and try to figure out what the actual lyrics were. Because I've been singing it for so many decades that I just kind of do it on autopilot, right? You know? And I had to rephrase these lyrics, these fantastic lyrics. Yeah. I mean, it's a sad song.
It is a sad song.
And so you got to find where that lives in that vibe.
Yeah.
And I remember, goosebumps, you know? And even on stage, like I was really feeling like this was an important moment in life. Mm-hmm. And so emotionally, I will have little tears before I have anything else, but it happens the strangest times.
Yeah.
Listening to a John Williams score on an old movie, you know, Superman, the original Star Wars stuff, E.T., Raiders of the Lost Ark. I mean, he did so much, and that music always really affected me too, to the point where, to this day, John Williams is my favorite composer. Yeah. You know, movie composer, classical, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
It's all the same thing. That gets me in my craw. Mm-hmm. And then every once in a while, I'll just hear like some kid singing something. Yeah. Like last week, there was a dude outside my front door, jamming on a guitar, just wailing. Mm-hmm. You know, no mic, no anything. He better than most people I've worked with.
Right.
He was that great. Yeah. And I actually put a Facebook post about it out, and I was like, how are we not supporting this instead of whatever a Kardashian is? Right. Because I don't even know what a Kardashian is. I removed myself from pop culture many years ago.
My wife will tell you what it is.
Okay. Most people will tell me what it is, even though I don't want to know. I'm like, no, that's okay. You don't have to tell me. I like secrets. Cool. You know?
Yeah. You know, Chelsea and I were talking about, too, that there are people in this town that can sing circles around people that are on the radio.
Oh, in fact, all
this
of them.
Town.
Yeah,
no,
I know. Springfield is kind of a little mecca for talent if you know where to find it.
It really is.
I went and saw some jazz last night at one of the breweries, and you know they were like, "Hey, do you want to sing?" And I was like, Not really. You guys are like super good.
Yeah.
I don't want to get up there and not remember the lyrics
And
to something.
and it's across a lot of genres. It's very diverse.
Yeah. I
The
do
talent
love.
is just great.
I think my favorite part about, the sort of quintessential Ozark performer, is the folky country thing, where it's original music, or to me it sounds like original music because I've never heard it, but it's more rootsy, and I'm getting back into that world a little bit with local musicians and just kind of going, wow, will you come to my studio?
Right.
Will you come and record that,
Dude,
and let me mix it for you?
You should. Have you heard of Maddie Warren? Have you heard her? She was my second guest. She is a chip off of the Stevie Nicks, Janis Joplin block.
Oh,
Her voice
yes.
is wicked. When we get done, I'm going to show you a video. She's from Blue Eye, which is right.
I know
You
where
know
Blue Eye is.
know where Blue
man.
Eye
That's
is.
right next door to, well,
She just, and for an update for you guys who might be watching and watched Maddie's episode, she wrote a song and put it in a Nathan Jamerson had a contest of he was looking for somebody to play at his music festival, and she just announced today that she made the final cut.
Oh, great.
And but she is phenomenal, and every time I hear her, I'm just like, what is she doing here?
So does she have a voice that's a little lower, a little huskier, a little
Raspy.
more soulful?
Yes.
Love that. That's
And
my
it's-
favorite kind
yes.
of what they would call a female voice.
And it's backwoods, like just
real,
man.
authentic.
And her sister plays acoustic bass.
Far out.
And then Maddie plays, she's got a kick drum. Her dad made a kick drum on a suitcase.
Yep.
With a kick drum and a tambourine on the other side.
Sure.
So she plays both pedals with her feet. Just phenomenal. And she was telling me about, she had a couple places in Springfield that were like, oh, we just don't think you're a good fit. And I'm like, how?
The lack of imagination.
Yeah.
You know?
I
I mean,
don't,
I don't get it.
yeah, it's not like she was trying to go play at a jazz club, like.
Although
It's-
they probably would have, jazz people would have appreciated what
Right.
she was doing because it was based on authenticity and
Yes.
talent.
Yeah.
That is a word that I mean, I have been using it so much for about the last 5 years, is that word authenticity, because everything around us is just so pretend and so fakey and, again, so digital,
Yeah.
that when I think about music, I think what feels authentic, like it has a reason to exist.
Right.
And that kind of thing is exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It has a reason to exist.
Yeah, for sure. What, I mean, are you working on anything right now? Are you writing anything right now?
Yeah, I've been, well, I just released the Freak, it's called Freak, the record is, and believe it or not, it's kind of like a 70s sounding disco album with some 80s techno-y stuff thrown in.
Love it.
But I used mostly analog instruments and things, so it's hopefully more authentic sounding than what they would call, what is it called, EDM?
EDM, yeah.
You know, that kind of crap.
Boots and Cats.
Or Boots and Cats, or the
yeah.
most annoying one, douchka, 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 which is every song ever in the last 10 years.
Hands up.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, that music makes me just want to go to the bathroom.
noise.
I mean, I don't get it. Some
Yeah.
people get it, and I don't understand why, and I just have to deal with it. But what I've been doing lately is working on music for broadcast. So there's I can't really talk too much about it, but
Yeah,
it's there's a documentary that's hopefully going to be on Netflix in the next couple months that some friends of mine are working on in LA, and they needed music,
Okay.
and so they're using 11 of the 12 songs off my Freak album, and I wrote some extra like arrangements of bed music for them. Cheap music is what we used to call
Yeah.
it, where they've got a moment where they need music for this thing to happen, and it needs to be exactly a minute and 19 seconds. Done. Okay, so I did that. Did some sound alikes. Remember the artist Sylvester? No, of course you don't, because you're not 100. Sylvester was this really like crazy, weird, off the planet singer back in the 70s, and he sounds just like Mickey Mouse. He sings like this, just really hardcore out there.
Wow.
And they wanted to use this Sylvester song, but they couldn't get the rights to it. And they said, "Can you write a song that has the same kind of vibe?" And I was like, "I don't know. Let me try." So I, figured out what to do on all these old synths, and put some drum machine sounds in there. And then I went, "Crap! Now I have to sing like Mickey Mouse." Also Barry Gibb.
Yeah,
Same
yeah,
thing,
yeah.
put it right here. So I did it, and I sent it, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, this sounds just like that song that we wanted to use, and I was like, really? That's like so cool or whatever. Isn't that what you wanted me to do?
It reminds me of who was it? Tiny Tim that used to sing
Tiptoe Through the Tulips.
Yeah.
Tiptoe through the tulips, through the window, and
sing
playing
that
a
SpongeBob
ukulele.
song too.
Exactly. He used to do episodes of Laugh-In in like 69, 1970.
Creepy.
You know,
It's creepy to watch him
a
perform.
little creepy. Yeah.
Great. I mean, talented, whatever. But
that's what
I mean,
that's what I've been working on lately. Is that stuff that's written to hopefully produce some income.
Yeah.
That's, you know.
I mean, would that be like hey, write this song and we'll pay you a flat rate, or would that be based on like the episode, how the success of the show goes?
That's how I try to get it to work.
Okay.
I have been just, paid for hire, for that. But usually they would like you to work on spec. That's what that's called. And then maybe I'll make $5 in 2 years. Maybe I won't make anything. Maybe I'll make $1,000.
$15 here.
That only took 2 years and a hell lot of hard work to make it happen.
Damn it, Bobby.
I'll tell you what. Don't even get me started, man. I'll go on voices all day.
You're actually really good at impressions.
Oh, thanks.
I've
thanks.
been very surprised.
It's because I was very bored as a child.
Well,
Clearly.
oh, that's great. Well, we have officially recorded for longer than we recorded Chelsea's.
Wow. Well, this thing is it still going?
It is still going.
I love my old computer. It just keeps banging along. Yeah.
I didn't get to ask you about the Chelsea getting hit in the head with the football story. Because I totally forgot about that happening, and she told her side of the story, and we laughed.
You did
so hard because
I didn't laugh. I was angry.
I'm sure you were
really angry.
But I told her that, and I need to clarify. I told her on the podcast that the news leader did an article about it, but it was just one of the news leader's writers that tweeted about it, and that's what I saw.
And I called him.
Oh,
Yeah.
I shouldn't say his name.
Yeah,
I should
you shouldn't say
his name.
Beep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Beep.
Yeah. I called and reported him to his boss.
Yeah.
And because that's not okay.
Yeah.
This is a small town, even though
right.
it's got 200 and some thousand people. It's still a small town, and we have to be nice to each other
Oh, the tweet's
and
still up.
support.
So
is it really?
It is. I found it last night because I was looking for the
No
article.
kidding. They were supposed to have taken that down.
Yeah.
And if I was Chelsea, I'll do something about that. Don't mess with me.
Oh man. Jeez, I might just cut this whole part out. I was just curious because.
Do you want to do a little bit of that? We can, and then you can edit it in place of something else.
Oh, I don't care.
Well, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
That was a bad day.
Yeah.
That was a really bad day.
That's what I mean. She played it off. She's a pro, and she, was probably just more concerned about doing the show than she was her own health.
She couldn't go on, and that's when I knew. That's when we all knew it was kind of a real thing. This was not just getting hit in the head by like dodgeball.
Right.
This was a football that was kicked from
by a D1 athlete.
Whatever that means. Yes, someone who kicks really hard, I guess.
Yeah.
And from the field, it's a half mile away. I swear it's this far. Okay, so from the field, they kick this stupid football. It goes through the thing called a goalpost, I think, and it's not even the first one that happens.
Yeah.
Okay, this is
she
like
said it was
the
like
third or fourth ball that they have kicked into the stage.
Yeah.
That was supposed to have had a protective roof over it.
Right. And I know
Breach of contract.
I know you're not a big football fan, but there are two goalposts on a football field.
Yeah, the other one goes toward the road.
Yes.
And that's the one that should have been kicked at.
100 yards away from the stage.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But no, they were like, oh, those are musicians up there. They're not cool. We'll kick this into the stage.
Nerds!
Nerds! Yeah. One of my favorite movies, Revenge of the Nerds. Don't even start.
It's a great one.
And so this thing comes and pummels her in her temple. I don't even know how fast a ball that's gone over a goalpost and then comes back down with gravity, what that is. What that velocity is that hit her in the head.
Footballs are hard.
Especially when you get hit with the pointy end.
Yeah, the end is very hard.
And so, dude, I lost it. I started yanking cords. I'm like, I'm going home.
Yeah.
I'm done. This is not a safe work environment for professionals, and I'm a professional. You're a professional. You're a professional. Yeah. I'm going home, guys. Go ahead and do the show without me.
Yeah.
And so it was very, very bad. We had to really talk about that as a band and figure out what we should do.
Yeah.
And I mean, like I said, if I was Chelsea, I would have done a lot more.
Yeah.
She's a pro because
is.
I would have gone straight to the lawyer and
Yeah.
I would have owned that damn football team. I'm gonna tell you.
I'm gonna tell you, I'd run the damn
I'm
ball.
on-
I'd
Man, you guys are going to start playing with flat balls. Maybe frisbees or something like that.
Nerf footballs.
Nerf footballs, they don't hurt near as bad.
Although a Nerf football, if it hit you like that in your temple,
Yeah, it probably would.
anything can kill you if it hits you right here.
I've got
Like,
one of those whistling Nerf footballs, and I can throw that thing about 100 miles an hour.
Say, I hear they whistle real nice.
They whistle pretty good. No, Chelsea was like, man, they paid for my hospital stuff,
Yeah.
and we were cool. And
Yep.
she was like, they were trying to get me to take an ambulance, and I was like, no, really, I'm fine. And she was like, I was not fine. I had a concussion.
Yes, she did. She laid on the floor for about an hour before the ambulance got there, and I sat beside her, and I was like, "Girl, how you doing? How you
crazy.
doing? Checking in.
Great.
Here's some ice. Who do you want me to kill? I'll destroy someone. Just tell me who, because I'm madder than hell right now." Oh, I was so angry that day.
Oh, that's funny.
That band had not seen that side of me.
Yeah.
In all these years, I usually keep it together pretty good, but I lost it. I did.
Well, you're the-
And I was screaming at people that were supposed to be catching those stupid balls.
catch your stupid ball.
I mean, my blood pressure's going up right now, just
right
even
now.
thinking about it.
Golly. Well, thank you very much for your time. Thank you
Yeah,
for
sure.
hosting
I
this.
I didn't host. You hosted.
Well,
I just answered questions and talked too much.
I hosted, but in your place of residence.
Oh, that's okay.
No,
you got to see what a real crap studio looks like every once in a
It
while.
looks great. I'm jealous. My wife and I were talking about building a house, and one of the things I wrote down that I wanted was a music room, and she goes,
Absolutely.
Wouldn't that be the same as the game room? And I was like, no, it's not, as a matter of fact.
The music room has to be soundproofed, and it's either in the basement
Yes.
or in the attic or someplace away from everyone.
And it's a tax write-off.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So-
Yeah, if you're a 1099er, you can ride that stuff off.
right.
Man,
Buddy.
I'll tell you what.
I'll tell you what. So
my
my
pleasure, man.
my last question is my calling card question. I'm going to let you build your dream concert. And you
Oh.
get an opener, a co-headliner, and a headliner
Oh.
at any venue you
I
want.
thought you were just like, going to say, "Hey, Jake, what's your favorite show idea?" And I would say, "One that I don't have to carry anything."
You guys say members only all the success, and you still haven't hired any grips.
No, we don't make that kind of money. Sometimes we get someplace and there's a few dudes, outside the back,
right.
the back theater door or whatever. They're out there smoking. Be like, "Hey, could you guys help us move this rack in here?"
I'll give you $20 if you load in my keyboard.
I made a trip to the Home Depots the other day, and there's a bunch of these fellers didn't talk no English, and they was out there smoking cigarettes and stuff. And I said, "Hey, you guys want to do some stuff and carry some things?" And they was like, "Okay." And so I said, "You're hard."
You're
you know?
hard.
Anyway, dream concert. Man, see, I never think about things like this because these are dreams and I don't have those anymore. A dream concert would start opener.
Yeah.
It would be Friends. Obviously, I don't need famous people.
Okay.
It would be friends that I love that would go on first. They wouldn't be opening for me. They would just go on first. Yeah.
Josh Cherry opening.
Case in point.
Case in point.
I would be driven onto the stage in a 57 Chevy convertible. Red with red and white interior. 283 4-barrel.
Cream on the inside, clean on the outside. You don't even know that reference.
I don't. Is that something? Is that a pop reference?
It's a rap song.
What now?
It's a rap song. It's even worse.
What's rap?
I don't know.
Is that something you do in Christmas
Time, yeah.
And it would be something where every single song that I got to do once I got on the stage was the best song in history, and everybody thought so. And I didn't even have to pay them to get them to think that. No rent-a-crowd. They came really just to hear me.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's more about that than stardom, celebrity. None of that stuff appeals to me. It's not real. It's all very fake, and I've been there and done that. And the important thing is the relationships that you make when you go through life, the people that you get to work with on stage, the people that you make magic with, that you make music with. That's what matters.
Yeah.
And, you ain't going to take it with you. So you might as well enjoy it while you can. And I enjoy people much more than I enjoy money and fancy things.
Well, that's deep, man.
Man, I'm like the 8-foot part of the pool instead of the 3-foot part of the kiddie pool, you know?
Well, having this is only the second time I've met Jake, but it's very evident to me from the first time I met you that you're a fantastic human being.
Oh,
and I'm excited to have a new friend, and hope we get to work more together in the future. But
come over anytime. I got a real great guitar, microphone here and there. We can set you up, get you going.
Look at that. Tell the people where they can hear your music, check you out on social. You can plug members only because they've got 175 million followers.
Well, then they don't need it.
So.
My name is Jake Simpson. I don't know how to do all of the other ones, but I do have the Facebook one. And
you can send me a telegraph.
I will take telegraphs. I will also take Venmo. That's what you're supposed to say now.
Yeah, right? There you go.
I accept Venmo
Tip
as
me.
well as Bitcoin.
Just kidding.
Tips.
Yeah, I'm so bad at all that stuff. Anyway, new album called Freak. Done but not really released until I maybe get a label or something. I don't know. I'm still working on that with the publisher. But
do you put your music on Spotify or YouTube
absolutely
or
not.
Nothing?
Nope. I try not to.
Yeah.
Every once in a while I'll do a cover of something and I'll put that on there if it's like a multiple face, multiple instruments kind of a thing. I haven't done that since COVID. I mean since the quarantine actually. But it'll be available eventually, even if I have to meet you out behind the Walmart and give you a USB drive of all the songs for free.
Here's your thumb drive.
Here's your thumb drive. I hope you like my disco music.
Well, I will get something from you to put at the end of the video. Usually, I've been throwing some music, and I can't pull the Oprah video, or I'll probably get sued by Oprah or
Yeah, that's a
Dr.
no-no.
Phil or somebody. I don't know.
We'll get you something worth listening to.
So yeah, that's great. But thank you again for your time.
Thanks,
thank
man.
you for letting me come over, and thank you all for listening. Hope you learned something new about the legendary Jake Simpson. Catch a members only show if you follow them on Facebook and add to their ever-growing total of followers. They've got their whole schedule in the cover photo, which there's almost zero negative space because it is all dates. There's like 150,000.
Work!
Yeah. So they are playing a lot of shows. So if you have not seen them, go check them out. They are talented across the board and just a lot of fun to watch. So next week's guest, as of now, is going to be Madison Gregory. So be sure to check that out. And until next time, thank you for listening to 417 Sound. Jake Simpson, everybody. We will catch you next time.
You say that I'm no good for you, darling, but you